this episode of Apax Empowered, we step inside the studio with designers Colin and Mike as they unpack how emerging technologies like AI are reshaping architecture and furniture design without replacing the human touch. They talk about bold sculptural statement pieces, the balance between trends and individuality, and why joy, play, and relentless crafting are at the heart of their work at Hey Schlau. Welcome to Apax Empowered. We have the dynamic duo here from Hey Schlau, Colin and Mike. Thank you so much for joining Apax Empowered. It's really such a pleasure to have you guys in your own space to see what you guys are up to and what you guys are doing. It's really, really inspiring. Why don't you start off by telling us where you guys are from and what your foot in the design world is?
You want to go first?
Yeah. Well, we're both imports from Johannesburg, now living down here in the Cape. We both are creators and come from a creative background. I'm an architect. I specialized many years ago in environmental branding with marketing communications, worked for branding companies. And my life's been, doing branding and architecture, and it's been great fun. And since about 15 years ago, I moved away and working on my own, doing contract work, also doing my own work and own design work. And it's become a lot more specialized, a lot more, for want of a better word, precious. It's stuff that we can craft, stuff that's not formulaic, and we're having fun on that.
And you, Colin?
I come from a very varied background. I started off in fashion, and then I went into graphic design, and then I got bored. Then I caught a plane to the UK. I was going to stay there for 2 years on a not a work permit, a travel work visa, and I ended up staying for 7 years and also getting a degree. So I ended up in university and I studied film and animation at the London College of Music and Media. And then after 7 years, I moved back to Johannesburg and I started working for production houses, TV production houses. So then I got into that and that just evolved into using the software that I use to use that software for my own means. So it gave me a good grounding for designing things I would never have thought I could do. And that's where I find the magic, is taking software, learning how to use it, and using it to your best advantage to create something, and also coming up with manufacturing solutions. And it's really bizarre. I mean, from fashion to, sawing wood downstairs in my garage is quite a big leap.
No, I can imagine. And I really do want to touch on the tools that you guys are using now going forward. But then obviously the two of you met and you started merging these two creative worlds. What has started that process with the two of you, like having your own careers merging as one?
Well, you and I both have very similar tastes.
We have similar tastes, and in a way, what you do and what I do, it complements each other. So, I would say it does that. In even though we are perceived as fields apart, but the whole creativity, and then obviously my background in architecture with branding and marketing and communication, it links in with what Colin's been doing on his motion graphics side, which is also links again into marketing and branding and communication. So we found a multidisciplinary communication in something that's, it actually brings us quite together quite well. In that sense.
And we also, when this started all during COVID, what we used to do to, we didn't want to just rot because, a lot of people just didn't know what they wanted to do during COVID.
They made pineapple beer,
yeah. I drank the pineapple beer. And what we used to do, we used to give each other one-day challenges. So he would give me something arbitrary like a turnip, and I would give him something from one of my favorite designers. His name is Walter Beeren from Beerendonk. And I'd give him that and say, okay, you've got to make a chair, you've got to make this, and I'm going to take this turnip, thank you for that. And what was it, kohlrabi?
It was a kohlrabi, yeah.
And I have to
one of them,
I had to make a chair, a floor lamp, a carpet, a coffee table. And we only had one day to do it. So we gave each other these challenges. And then obviously because I'm more familiar with modeling in 3D and animating, I would take his ideas and use my skills to bring them to life. So he would give me a sketch, a drawing, and we'd sit there and he would direct me on what his inspiration turned out to be.
Yes.
And then that's how we started doing these things, just these one-day challenges. Like, it kept us on our toes. So we had to do something with our brain. And it really, really helped us. And I think that's where the root started.
Yeah.
It was that little seed that we planted that eventually just went...
Spark the creativity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sparks creativity, but also that cliche, do what you love.
Exactly.
That literally happened because we now had chance to actually sit down, not listen to anybody else.
Exactly.
And we literally could do what we wanted. We were like kids in a candy store, you know.
There was nobody to
great,
report to. There was nobody to try and, when you work in corporates, which we sometimes, I work in corporate, and, you have to go through all these stages. You've got to go through the creative director marketing. And then you have all these cooks in the kitchen. And what's great about these things is that you have nobody to answer to except yourself.
We can stir our own pot.
You can stir our own pot. And we're quite comfortable putting each other.
And I feel that is so evident in your work. You can really feel the authenticity in your designs, and that is really inspiring.
Thanks very much, yeah. Look, we work off each other's strengths. I mean, certain aspects, Colin's visions are often far more out there than what mine are. Being an architect, I often get pulled back because I think of the practicalities. So that is where Colin and I work well together, because he'll come up with these beautiful, wonderful creations, and I have to then go in, okay, let's pull this back a bit, because you really can't do that. You're going to need a skyhook to keep that up. Let's see how we can pull that back into into a form of realism that can be done. Obviously it'll then obviously have to go into production and prototyping and all that kind of stuff. But it's great to be able to do that together, and in that process we can crit each other. But there have been cases where Colin will look at me and say, no, that's just totally no. Let's start again, or I'll do the same thing. And we're comfortable enough to do that.
Yes.
And you have to be comfortable enough to do that. And also just, that is an I environment, but also if you're out in the real business environment, not that ours isn't real, but if you're in a corporate environment, you need to be able to have that within your own team. You need to be able to create a team where you can be honest and never be precious about your own work, because there's always somebody who is better than you in certain aspects, and you can actually take your project and move it forward by taking on that advice from those people. And that's pretty much what we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From an architectural style point of view, what style do you lean towards more in your personal capacity?
I'm very much a modernist.
Okay.
I love brutalism. I love mid-century. I love the international styles. So I'm really in that vein from the 20s. Not so much a Deco person, but really taking from the 20s, where Le Corbusier started with his Dominion houses, moving that all right up to about the mid-70s, where brutalism started really coming to its own.
Yes.
So that is really the era that I really love, but also taking, obviously, clues from what's happening nowadays. I'm not a big fan of and it's a personal thing, I'm not dishing anybody, but I'm not a fan of the aspects of Zaha Hadid, the more organic stuff. I'm not a Frank Gehry person. I appreciate the buildings. I've seen some of the buildings in real life up front, stunning, but to me, how long are they going to last? How long are they going to be relevant? Whereas you can see there's been a track record over a century now, with the modernism and the international style, how those buildings were designed with regard to living in, not just as a corporate statement or as a national statement. These are really things that you can really dig into and understand how to live in and work your way through that. It's a great planning challenges too.
Yeah, a lot like Oscar Mayer's Brasilia. I mean, the buildings are beautiful, but they serve a purpose, and people can live in them. They can work in them, which is on our bucket list. We really want to see that.
And now, Colin, your interesting part comes in when you start layering all of this architecture with the craft side of things and fashion. How do you how did you start exploring with the crafting?
Well, I mean, I've always had this very nervous approach to crafting, because people don't see crafting as art, they don't see it as anything special, whereas I disagree. I mean, the greatest furniture designers all worked with wood. It's a craft. And I just pulled in all the experience I've gathered over my years on this planet. And, I can still sew, I can still cut patterns, I know how patterns work. I can learn a new craft to complement the work I want to do. So in the beginning, it was just accessories, making cushions, and it was very much a exclusive concept, because we just only made one of everything. So because in a world where everything is just overproduced and mass-produced, I think there is definitely a place for people who still want exclusivity. I'm happy when I own something that's only I have, and so I used all that experience to make the things I'm doing now. So, like when I make my patterns, I do most of my patterns in 3D. So I have developed techniques to make very organic shapes, and being able to create a pattern from that shape and actually sew it up, so I can bring it in to the real world. And then it was like, now you've got this object. How can you expand on this? So then I started learning punch needling, which is relaxing. First of all, I used to do in the evenings just to calm down from my corporate work, and then it became like this thing that I can paint with thread. I can do this. I can do it on my patterns, cut my patterns out, sew them all together by hand, and that's how it works. And there are other things that I'm teaching myself to use. So it's a never-ending journey of discovery, and you never know what's going to come from your past.
Yes.
And actually give you a kick, because I think that's one thing that probably helped immensely, bringing something that is on a flat screen into reality. I know, like Mike said, he sometimes says, Colin, this is, it's not going to work because they'll fall over. And then you take that advice and you take your experience in, now how can I solve this problem? And you'll be surprised how the most arbitrary, how can I put this, the most arbitrary, I'm trying to find the word, the idea, that something from your past can help you solve something in your future. So everything just ties together, and that's what I enjoy about the discovery of, because I can't find manufacturers to do this, I have got to teach myself how to manufacture it myself, and I also have to solve problems by myself.
That's actually a very good point that Colin's making there. In an environment that's becoming more and more technically advanced through AI, through computer work, through programs, etc., it's always good to know where your background comes from and what history is, and I've lost the thread now, but you need to understand the history of furniture making. It can't just be something that you do using computer and technical tools. You need to understand how it's made. You need to understand how it's crafted. And I think we tend to meld that quite nicely as well. We understand how things are made because we actually go in and make it ourselves, the prototypes.
Exactly.
It's important,
you have to use your hands. I think that's the one aspect that our AI would never have, is having hands.
Yeah, absolutely. But just the aspect of designing something on the computer, and I think that also helps us, and it also helps Colin and myself, is this is still got to be made, and you do know that when you're designing that I'm going to have to use this kind of joint over here, and that'll create this kind of aesthetic. Can we use it or can't we use it? So it's not just a case of putting a pretty picture on a screen, building a 3D model out of it, and let's go for it. Because that's where a lot of people run into trouble when they want to start prototyping it or finding manufacturers.
Correct.
They'll all just turn around to you and say, sorry, we're not interested. Because it's just something that we're not prepared to put the R&D effort into that, because it's just going to be something that's going to turn out a mess, so you've got to be real with when you design,
I mean, when it comes to it, you've got to know how to do a technical drawing, else people can't follow what you're doing. So that's, the last time I did a technical drawing was at school, woodworking. That's something I'm going to have to learn myself as well. Something I'm not looking forward to, because I hate the technical aspects.
Yeah.
Whereas Mike is very good at the technical aspects. I'm a dreamer. He's a dreamer and a pragmatic
dreamer.
A pragmatic dreamer.
But you've also explored with a lot of other materials like ceramics and that sort of thing. You still do.
Yeah. So that's where my love of just being a pure artist comes in as well. Just throwing everything to the wind and just starting off with basically a very rudimentary sketch. I've been doing a whole series of vases now the last year and a half. And I'll start off with this very rudimentary sketch that I've got, and then I just let it evolve as I'm working, and you just let the creativity flow. And that's also very good, because it really just opens up your thought process again. You're not too constrained again through realism, which as an architect you tend to do at times, because it's got to be built. And this process is really great. It just opens up new avenues. You actually start thinking in a different way, and I think everybody needs to do that as well. It's not just within constraints. Let yourself go out of that. I've been doing something that looks like ceramics, but I've decided to use another material that is far easier for me to work with and realize at this stage, and that's plaster Paris. It's a bandaged plaster Paris and
cardboard.
And cardboard, and the amazing stuff that one can do out of that. But yes, ceramics will be our next step. But really, it's good to do that. Even just taking up a sketchbook and sketching, or going onto your iPad and using a sketching app and sketching. Just let yourself be free, and that's important, Also helps with the concepts,
And like you say, you sometimes then pass on the sketches to Colin. And then Colin, what tools do you make use of to create these 3D visualizations?
I use a software called Autodesk 3D Studio Max. I also use Adobe Illustrator and obviously Adobe Photoshop. And it's 3D Max is a 3D software that hides a multitude of directions. You can do animation, you can do visualizations, you can do special effects, you can model. So it is pretty much an all-round package I use. And obviously Photoshop, I bring it in to do my compositing work. Or if I do an animation, I do compositing work in After Effects. And there are tools online that I use. AI is one of them. And that's it. It's just that. And obviously the other machines I use are a sewing machine and scissors and needles, and I have calluses everywhere on my hands from sewing by hand, because I have to, because I can't do the things I want to do on a normal sewing machine. So that's basically pretty much it.
So now tell me more about you developing your furniture. Because you had the sketches, you had the 3D development, you are now crafting some of these pieces and putting them together. What is next for you? How are you going to elevate your future designs?
We need to, and I think this is a bit of a problem by moving from inland to down to the coast, is to reestablish and find contact with regard to manufacturers and people within the trade who are willing to take our work on and are willing to create a partnership with us, with our work. Our work is more one-offs, so it's never ever going to be a huge production run of furniture. Maybe there will be 1 or 2 pieces where we do 10 of them, but normally it's going to be 2 or 3 pieces. And we need to find those people now. We have found people who will print our fabric. We have found certain people who are great at doing metalwork. We have found 1 or 2 people who are great with upholsterers. Don't even start with upholstery in our country. That's another story. But that is our next endeavor now. And it is very time consuming. Because they're not all in one spot. You're going to have to. There's a lot of travel involved. There's a lot of research involved, looking at references, etc., just to get the right people and people who are enthusiastic to do the right stuff. Because let's face it, these manufacturers and suppliers, they also have to make a living out of it. So for them, it's also, as it is for us, it is a bit of a risk. So that's the big hurdle that we have to go through at the moment, but we are having fun. We are speaking to some great people. There are people who really are enthusiastic, but obviously one has to be real about it and see what one can get out of it. But that is our next big hurdle, to get that out there.
I mean, I also, I have a system in place to, and this is where I'm starting with furniture prototypes, is finding the quickest route from A to Z. So there is other software out there that you can use that can actually, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, can actually take your model and slice it and do connections. So all you have to do is get it lasered in wood. And you can put it all together, and then you, like say for a chair, for example, I'm busy working on. You've got to make sure that you design your model for the frame, for the foam, and also the fabric. So you always work at a -5 ratio. So that's one thing that I'm excited to try, because then it takes a lot of that guesswork for other people, and I can actually do it at home. So it means that I can, because what I do is complicated. I mean, if I had to give somebody something to make, I would have to give them a model that they can actually revolve around on an iPad, and that's not something I want to give someone who's not used to working with 3D geometry like that, because it is organic and it's very complicated. So, I know there is always a way to overcome some things. I think the biggest thing for us right now is upholstery, because it's very difficult to find a good one. And if you do, they're busy and you have to wait. But the stuff I want to make, I don't really need. If I do go to an upholsterer, it'll be very easy to explain how it works, because I cut everything. Everything is designed in such a way that everything can be manufactured quickly. And I just have to test that and see how it comes alive.
But I think what's also important is one's got to think a bit out the box with regard to your suppliers and manufacturers. You're not going to go to your normal shop fitters. They're not going to be able to do it, and they're not going to want to do it because they just don't have the equipment, and their business model doesn't allow for it.
Correct.
So through ins and outs and speaking to people, we've discovered the yacht building industry here in the Cape, especially with the luxury yachts. Those are the people we need to approach, because they have all the right equipment.
Which we have.
We have discovered a few people, and they are the ones who are really upmarket. The finish is part and parcel of their deliverables. I mean, it's a very important aspect of it. And so one's got to think a bit out of the box and not down the normal road. Take the side roads and let that winding road take you somewhere, and you'll find those people. But it is a time consuming. It's a cat and mouse game. It's time consuming, but it is something you need to invest in if you want to actually find the right people. If you don't, well, you're just going to sit and be in the same spot. So one's got to be aware of it. It's not going to happen from today to tomorrow, you're going to have to. It might
It's a
be
process.
It's a
That
process.
is all part of the design
It's all
process.
part and parcel of it, you know, and we're on the cusp now of getting those people together, and we now need to actually bring them all together and get things going.
Yeah, I mean, we actually wanted to do Furniture Week this year, but last year was a catastrophe because I lost the sight in my left eye. I had 3 operations. I couldn't move, and I had to be very careful. I couldn't do manual labor. So, you know, you've got to think about these things. I mean, something will come along and derail your plans, and you've got to accept it. So I've accepted it, and I think everybody has to accept it. Then you just pick yourself up and you start over again, which is what we're doing now. So it's become more in earnest to get something done because I really want to do Furniture Week next year. Because we were planning for 2 years for Furniture Week, and then everything's been whoop.
So take us through some of the furniture pieces that you have designed already that are ready for production, or the ones that you want to focus on.
Well, the ones I want to focus on are the ones that are the easiest to make. I think the ones that are easy to make, you can get out quick. They are. I'm in talks with a joiner in Cape Town. He actually heads up the Makers Festival. I don't know if you've heard about the Makers Festival. And he does incredible work. And I mean, 2-3 years ago, he contacted me out of the blue and said, "Colin, I need to make your chair." And I'm like, "Yes, you do." So we need to just get that going as well, because we're starting off, you know, you don't want to do something complicated when you're starting off. You've got to do something that is doable in a time frame that's suitable for you and is easy to do, but looks hard. So you have to think about that as you're designing, as you're thinking about the technical aspects. So there are a few things that are in the pipeline. I mean, you also got to take your audience into consideration. Our work is playful. It's not going to suit anybody and everybody. So the ones I want to get done are definitely the ones I can make easily and using the latest technology. Because, like Mike said, finding manufacturers is hard. And we're also limited by the machinery that's available overseas, but you just can't get here yet. And so there is a company I'm in talks with in Romania and Denmark, and I have someone in Romania who is going to try and see if they can help us with production. And it is going to start off with simple organic shapes that I know that is possible from the research I've done of what new techniques are and how fast it is to get things done now. So there are a few things in the pipeline, but it does take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
And on top of it, we are both still running our daytime jobs on top of everything until, you know, Hey Schlau starts blossoming off and taking off a lot more. So you've got to juggle that side of things as well.
And this was basically an idea that was born out of COVID as well. So we're already sitting at year 6 post-COVID, and it just shows the people out there that this takes a long time to develop. It's really not an overnight success that you can expect.
No. You've just got to believe in yourself. I think that's a big thing. Colin and I, we often talk about our imposter syndrome. So we think, no.
That still crops up.
crops up. So that also plays a role in it. You've just literally got to believe in yourself.
To listen and see more episodes, click through to our website. Remember to follow us on Instagram and YouTube.
Let's talk about emerging technologies.
Okay. Tell me more, Colin.
Okay, emerging technologies and how amazing it has become to produce things so quickly. And the whole thing with AI, I mean, I don't use AI to design. I use AI to complement our work. Like with Mike and he sketches all his buildings. He puts it into AI, Gemini. He explains what he wants: concrete, wood, glass, you name it. And you know, it takes a lot of iterations, but you get a very beautiful end product.
I think that's very important to know that AI is not your magic tool. You use it as a
Like
creative
Photoshop.
tool, yes. And it isn't just a image that you get once off, it's there, and while you go and publish it. It is work. I mean, just to do one image can take you a day and a half to 2 days to do. And, you know, everybody thinks it's a half an hour job and off you go. No, you've got to rework it. And that's where you actually realize it becomes a tool. But at the same time, I think one must also notice, and I think it's great advice for other people out there, and maybe people more in our generation who didn't have the luxury of younger generations, with regard to computer technology and just generally technology, is it doesn't matter if you haven't got that skill, because you surround yourself with people who do have that skill. And that's where creativity also comes in, on how to express your creativity to somebody else so that they can help you realize what you want to do. So there are ways and means of doing this, you know, and we've learned it. Colin's a lot more tech savvy than what I am, but you know what? We make it work, you know.
The thing is, I think, you know, when people say something, you know, AI is, you know, it's going to be disruptive. Of course it's going to be disruptive. Every single technology that comes out, new technology, is disruptive. But people don't realize they've been using AI for years. And what I also find interesting about AI, and I tried that with Midjourney, is I took all the illustrations and all the work I've done, because in the latest iteration you can create your own learning section. So you take all the work that you've done, like all the plenty of the stuff downstairs, the stuff that we've sold. You know, everything is ours, and you can put it in this group of a collection of photographs, and you ask AI only to use those as references.
Correct.
It's not farming out and plagiarizing other people's work.
It's your IP.
It's your identity. And what AI does, forces is a strong word. It kind of gently shows you into a direction you would never have thought of. And what makes a creative is when they take those avenues that it's taken you down and you actually make it, which I've done. So it gave me these images, and I looked at these things, and I was like, there's something, why is it giving me these smooth organic, I don't want smooth, my work is not smooth organic shapes. And then I was like, that's what it's trying to do. And then I take that and I use that one idea that AI has gently said, you know, this is something new. Have you tried to do this? So I've done it, and I actually made it, and it was amazing. But you have to be able to
follow
produce.
The process.
You've got to follow it.
But saying that, there's nothing nicer than a hand-sketched idea.
Exactly. Like you say, it's the starting point.
It is the starting point, and nothing's ever going to beat that. But you need to use AI to help you realize the end product. And that's where it's going now. You know,
I mean, AI has already taken my job from my job. I don't do his architectural visualizations anymore, because he can do it in a day. Whereas if I had to do the board, I have to model it. I've got to get all the technical stuff from him. I've got to do a shader tree. I've got to do realistic lighting using HDRIs and you know, rendering software like V-Ray, and it takes about a week to 2 weeks. Now, for professional architectural firms, they will obviously still use an in-house or an outsourced department that deals with that kind of thing. But for people at home, and I mean for any architect or any person who wants to become an architect, they can get their ideas out faster. And that's just the way it's going to go. It's not going to go away. You've got to be positive about technology. You've got to use it in a way that doesn't discredit your individuality or your creative process.
Correct.
Don't go and take somebody else's work and go, oh, well, it's mine now. It's not yours. It's an amalgamation of 200, 300,000 artists whose work has been scanned by these learning algorithms. So you just keep true to yourself and always trust your style. You've got to have a point of view. You do not want to look like everybody else.
No, we can definitely tell by your furniture that it's something new and exciting, and that's really what triggers us.
I think that really gets us going, both of us, is trusting our own style and trusting our own design language and also the way we show it to people, how we introduce it to everybody. It's in the end, as we said, it's got to be something that you're going to be proud of, and you can see if you're proud of something, if you've had fun in doing it, if it's really got you going, and you believe in it. And I think that's very important that one's got that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mike, tell me, how are you going to use your branding and marketing background now going forward with the business of Hey Schlau?
What the branding and marketing communications has done for me is that it has let me see a design problem or a requirement from a client in different eyes. You know, it's not just seeing it from a planning point of view or structure point of view, but it also looks at the people and understanding who your client is. And it becomes a little branding exercise each time you design, you know, and you also think in a lot more of a broader sense, because you're taking in a whole lot of more, what's the right word here, disciplines that come in, you know, than you would as just doing pure architectural design in that sense. So you look at social influences, you look at the environment, you look at what is it trying to say with regard to the people who actually see or experience the building, you know. So you take all those psychological and social aspects into it as well, which at times we forget about in architecture. You know, it's let's get something out onto a site. We need a kitchen here, we need a bathroom here, we need a storeroom here, and this is what we want. But you actually need to understand
from you're changing behavior with what you're doing.
Yeah, you become a social engineer. That's really what it is. I mean, it sounds rather autocratic, but
we'd like to do that with furniture too.
Yeah, and the furniture helps in that, you know. And I must say that it's a very subtle aspect, because it's branding is a very subliminal thing that you do. You know, many years ago, Coca-Cola got in big troubles when they were doing. When you used to still go to the cinema and they'd slot in 2 or 3 little, frames into a movie that says "Enjoy Coca-Cola," and you wouldn't notice it, but your brain would pick it up. So it's almost that you're bringing in, having the branding and marketing communications background. You bring in that subtle subliminal messaging of what we are, what's needed, how you react to things, you know, and that's been great, you know, and that relates back to tactile, the materials that you use. You look at your typical lighting, you look at your forms when you enter a building. Are you tunneling in so you focus, or are you opening up something so you see a bigger picture? So it's all of those aspects that you look at, you know. It's not just a beautiful form.
And talk me through the scale of your furniture pieces, because I find that also so intriguing.
But
the shapes and the forms and the scale.
It makes a statement.
There's definitely a scale that is unusual.
Well, I think, you know, I heard somewhere the other day that you want to see the things you want to see in this world. So you make it happen. And I like bold statement pieces, because if you're going to make one thing, it can't be a little shy little thing in the corner. It's got to be a bold statement. And I like the sense. I like playing with the scale of furniture or accessories, because I think we're both. Mike is not as. I'm a very gregarious. I'm an extrovert, but I'm also an introvert. I'm more. I would say 80% extrovert, 20% introvert. Whereas Mike is more 60% introvert and 40% extrovert. So we complement each other like that. And what's happened is that our personalities have actually interconnected. So we now both probably the same. We're both introverts and extroverts at the same percentage, because he's brought things out in me and I brought things out in him. And what like you said, he likes brutalism. I also love brutalism, but I like massive, like, it's got to be like it's got to be meaty, you know. Like there's something I'm busy working on, which I can only say because I don't want to give it away, is a jungle gym for adults. So that's the kind of thing I want to do. So I'm doing something that I would say is a jungle gym for adults, and you'll have to wait and see.
I think what's
Sounds
correct to explain our style, it's we can bring all these jargons out, me through contradiction. We're looking at juxtapositioning aspects. We're looking at the chaos theory. That's what we bring out in small pieces and specific pieces that will make a statement within a room. I can't see. I think I'd go crazy if we had a room filled just with our furniture from back
No,
to
I think
I think it'll be
like strobe lights.
yeah. It won't work. So they are eventually become conversation pieces, but they must also be practical that you use them. You're not scared to use them. You know, it mustn't just be a piece there that is okay.
Do not touch.
Do not touch, and we don't sit on that. It's just there for view. So it's got to be practical, but at the same time, it's going to make a statement. And again, juxtapositioning, I think, in colours, in forms, in shapes, etc., so that you get your meaning through.
Which
that.
are all principles of architecture.
Yeah, very much so. Yes,
It's
very much
also
so.
like I'm personally influenced by like the Carpenter's Workshop, which is a gallery they have in Europe and in the Americas. And they do these pieces by people who are incredible. I mean, like Wendell Castle and Philip Hickley and Vincent de Curtis. And it's all these beautiful pieces that are such massive statement pieces that you can't ignore them. But they do serve a purpose, that you work, and they follow form and they follow function. And I love that idea of taking something that is as mundane as a stool and creating something that it's a stool, but it's not a stool. But you can turn it around and you can use it as a light. I want to just explore every way and everything. But like I said, I like scale. When you look at these pieces like from Vincent de Curtis, he does these amazing lighting and cupboards, and he's also an architect, so he literally does the whole interior with bespoke made for. I hate that word bespoke, but it is bespoke. I mean, he just does it specifically for an apartment in Rome or whatever, because he's Italian. But I mean, you get the old guys like Wendell Castle who did the most amazing, massive sculptural objects, like a chair. You've got Calder as well, and you've got Philip Hickley is also amazing what he did with brass and steel and perspex. And these were statement pieces, but some of them you can't have all of it in your house because I think it'll drive you crazy. But I mean, there's that sexiness of something that's bold and big and
loud.
Listen, I'm here.
Yes.
You're never going to forget me, because when you die, I'm probably going to be worth more, and I'll go to somebody else's house, and then they're going to die, and it's going to be this progression of I'm still
But I
here.
think that's a very strong message that we can get across to people looking at furnishing their houses. You don't have to look at getting all the accessories and items. You might just need to find that one special piece. And with yourselves, you also have collected over the years. And like you said, you got rid of some of it over the years, and you accumulated some more, and you crafted some more. It's really about building your own story as a.
You've got to have fun, and I think that's also what we try and bring out in our work. It's a joyful thing. It's a joyful experience. We literally have fun, and we laugh a lot, and we bicker a lot, but it's good fun, and that's what we also hope our pieces portray. Yes, they hopefully are perceived as serious design work, but it's joyful, fun design work, that can live in a very sophisticated environment as well.
And it's going to create joy.
Yeah, well, that's the
Going
idea.
forward,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's joy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things I have in my head. There's so many things I've started which I have to do in between my corporate job. But when you love something like we do, you make the time. You don't have to go to that bar on a Saturday afternoon at your friend's house. Although we invariably end up at our friend's house at 3:00 in the afternoon and drink 4 bottles of wine. But you make the time, even if it's an hour or 2 hours a day. I'm going to accomplish this. By the end of the week, you have worked 2 times 7, 14.
Mm.
14 hours, which is more than enough to get something going.
Mm.
And then you take this every day, just leave 2 hours. If you're a very busy person, and like we have to make money to produce, it's not going to fall out the sky. So you compartmentalize. Okay, I'm working from 8 till 5. From 5 until 7, I will do what I love to do. And that's what you do. And it accumulates over a period of a month. It's a lot of hours. And you'll be amazed what you can do.
But talking about that as well is designer's block.
Yeah.
We often have that. We will sit down on a Sunday afternoon, let's do some design work, and for the first half hour you're scribbling, it's just not working. Nothing wrong with taking that, putting it aside, doing something else,
at a
and
later
come back
stage.
3 days later, and you know what, you work it on, And often those projects become the better ones because they become enriched by that thought process and a thought-through thought process, let's put it that way, that you start crafting it. And I think that's a very important word, crafting, not just designing, you're crafting. Crafting means, it's like a Japanese artist or the Chinese artist that do their willow trees. They will do that willow tree for years and years and years until they actually have that perfect willow tree. So there's nothing wrong with putting a design aside and going back to it later on and working it up more and more and more. And we do that too. You know, there've often been things that we've taken right through and modeled in 3D and about to be put onto Instagram or onto any social page, and we look at it and say, we can actually change this, so we bring it back again and we work it up again, and that's important, that you've got to have the mustn't be scared of doing that.
Yeah, the discipline, but also, don't restrict yourself and
I have to do it today.
Exactly.
No,
don't rush anything.
And there's nothing worse is when you come up with an idea and then you mull it in your mind for about a month because you're trying to figure something out. And then you open Instagram and there it is because somebody got there before you. And it makes me mad because I'm like, I've got to really figure out how to do this stuff myself, and somebody overseas who has got the technology at hand. I mean, a perfect example is like when we first moved here. So we explored the area, and there is a industrial area just on the border of Strand and Somerset West. And we went there one day, and somebody told us about a second-hand shop that was buried between those brick buildings, and we decided, okay, let's go and see what we can find. You never know what you can find. So we went, and then I looked across the road, and there just said, what was it, Foundry?
Foundry, yeah.
So we were like, oh, this poppy little building, nothing amazing. So because Mike wanted to do some sculpture work and have it cast. And we walked in, and we were like, I can't believe this is here in the middle of an industrial area. These manufacturers, these guys who are they've got these huge robotic arms that carve things out of polystyrene to create shapes, and they cast from the polystyrene. They do work for
Kentridge.
For Kentridge, they had this massive olive, like a 3-story olive that they were busy with outside. And you see like works from the people like
Dylan Lewis was there.
Dylan Lewis. There was also what is that place? They are the kind of carpenters' workshop of South Africa, the Southern Guild.
Oh yeah.
A lot of their artists, and you see and you go, oh my God, this is all happening next to a panel beater. I mean, you can't be pretentious and go, oh, it's only going to happen in a very smart net. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Factories are factories, and what's behind that building can be magic. And we were like blown away. And you know what was really nice is that the manager still came up to the owner, still came up and says, you know what, I can see you guys excited. Would you like a tour? And we were like, yes.
Off we go.
So we went, we watched everything. I mean, the 3D printing, the big robotic arm moving and car. It was absolutely phenomenal.
And you have to expose yourself to these things and learn from some of these makers.
Yeah, and then you find out how expensive it is, and you go, I'm going to go cry over a cocktail somewhere.
And I think that's something that we've also learned from corporate. It's great to have your reps coming in from all over, from all your various suppliers, etc., and putting everything in front of you. it's nice, and putting it into your library, but you need to go out. You need to get into your car, be it a Saturday, or you take a Friday afternoon off, and off you go, and you just go and explore, and you'll be amazed what you'll find. People who will be able to supply stuff and goods to you that you've been looking for, but they do not have the reach of the bigger suppliers and the bigger names and brands. So it is a responsibility for yourself as a designer and a manufacturer, or manufacturing designer basically, to go out there and find out what's there, you know.
I mean, we're basically still hunters. I mean, you know, we're hunters and gatherers.
Yes.
But, you know, in the modern world, you're still a
different
hunter.
way,
You've got to
yeah.
go, instead of prey, you're hunting for connection with people that will, you know, feed you, will feed your soul. And I find that exciting. Mike and I have been to the most dodgiest areas. I remember in Joburg, it was also just after COVID, the first lockdown was again. Can't remember. And we
After
found this
fall, yeah.
amazing rocking chair in Pietermaritzburg, a very mid-century, beautiful lines and everything. So we bought it for something stupid like $300, and then when we got it, we were like, now what are we going to do with this? So I said to Mike, why don't we just cover it in graffiti? So we went around to the dodgiest parts of Joburg, under fly passes where, you know, people look at you and you go, not today, Satan. And we just started taking photographs. And then I took those photographs. I modeled that chair. We put these photographs of all the graffiti all over to see what would work the most. We took that. We had the fabric printed on upholstery fabric, and then we actually had it upholstered because, you know, you've got to follow it through. And we had this chair that was just covered in graffiti. I think I sent you pics. I can't remember.
But the real graffiti, it's not
Like
just
real, like this is urban.
proper urban language.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that chair sold like, it was gone. I mean, we wouldn't even have time to appreciate it. And we still had we still dealt with a company in Joburg who also sold mid-century furniture. And she said, Colin, if you guys ever get rid of this chair, you need to let me know. And I phoned her and said, listen, I want you, this is how much I want. You can, I don't know what you want to do with it. She says, I showed a client's picture, it was sold. I didn't even have to put it online, just sold.
Incredible.
So there are those days where you go, you know what, I'm in the right direction.
Sure.
You've got to trust yourself, and you go, you know what, people might not like it, but not everyone is going to be your enemy. So there's going to be some lovers out there. So do the crazy shit. Just
Do the
it.
crazy shit.
Absolutely.
I really love
Just do
that.
the crazy shit.
Then there's the other aspect that I think it's a bit of an elephant in the room is commercial. What's commercial? What will sell? And we will have our main publications out dictating what the trend is going to be for this year or for the next few years. And your general public laps it up. And that's fair enough, it's great. It's very difficult to put your own stamp onto that. And to make yourself shine out of that in the design industry, because everybody's following that trend. Don't be shy to take your own thoughts and adapt it to that. You know,
Your point of view is very important.
Point of view is very important, and to make it commercially viable, you bring in the trends. You mustn't be shy of doing that either. You know, so it can't just always be what Colin and Michael does or what Hey Schlau stands for. But Hey Schlau's got to be adaptable to fit into the trends. So we look at it along those lines as well. So that's also very important to keep that into
It's a very
consideration.
smart move to do as well.
Yeah, you've got to.
I mean, I think every designer would like to start a trend. And I think that's what I have a very difficult relationship with the word trend. Because it makes people who are creative, makes their work only pretty in a limited time. Whereas you want to have something that's classic and will last, but also has a unique point of view. And, you know, we live in, like I said before, we live in a world that's same. And sometimes you're just going to say, I don't want to sit next to you. I'm going to go sit over there. And you just do it. And if people don't like it, that's none of your business. Your business is to...
So you've got those contradictions that you've got to work with.
Yeah,
And,
you do what you love to do, and you do what you want to see in the world. And the rest will take care of itself. And it's very important not to lose that sense of self. And not be limited by trends. Because trends are exactly what they are. They're a short period of time of wow, and then it's passé, or it's old news. then the next trend comes along. Just keep it simple and keep it out there, and don't sit with cheerleaders, because they're usually always the bad people in the movie. And I look terrible in a dress anyway.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. It's really been so valuable, and it's so inspiring, and I really look forward to seeing the way forward for you guys at Hey Schlau.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys.
To watch and listen more episodes of this podcast, please click through to our website, www.apaxempowered.co.za.